Okay, guys, I want to take you on the rabbit hole that Yah has been taking me down. I just want to show you what I've been uncovering. I think I could do it in a comprehensible way. All right, this won't take long. So here we are in the Dead Sea Scroll about Noah's flood, which I've been talking about, that Yah has, I just feel like he's been on, okay? Okay, verse 1, right off the bat, it quotes an Apocryphal Psalm of David that's also found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And we've shown that these Psalms are inspired and they're literally written by David. So, and if it's written by David, it probably should be considered as scripture. So whoever wrote this Dead Sea Scroll, they are directly quoting from an Apocryphal Psalm of David that's not in our Bibles. So they thought of that Psalm as scripture. And this is, a time frame. These scrolls are dated, 200-300 BC, roughly. But that doesn't mean they were originally written back then. There probably were copies of scriptures passed down. So this is kind of showing that these apocryphal psalms that are not in our Bibles were considered scripture to whoever wrote this scroll. And this scroll, So when we go to that psalm, okay, here we are. This is the psalm that it's quoting from. Okay, see, we just read that quote. The same psalm just happens to quote the book of Jubilees, chapter 2, verse 3. And when we read this in its context, he divides light from obscurity. He establishes the dawn by the knowledge of his heart. When all his angels saw it, they sang, for he showed them that which they had not known. And here we go. He crowns the mountains with fruit, with good food for all the living. Now, what we're reading here in this psalm, when we go to Jubilees chapter 2, we can absolutely confirm. So this is real, inspired wisdom from Yah. Okay? Are you guys with me? We were in the Noah's flood, the Dead Sea Scroll about Noah's flood. This is a direct quote. Right? This is a direct quote from that. And when we go to this psalm, okay, we find a direct quote from Jubilees chapter 2. And when we go to Jubilees chapter 2, where this is quoted from, we literally can understand what this verse, which is not highlighted, means. And we're going to talk about that. So, here we are in the book of Jubilees. Here's the quote we just read in the Apocryphal Psalm of David. Okay? And here in this, just only in the same section of the book of Jubilees, we have the creation account of day 1. And it goes into way more detail than what's in our standard Bibles. And what it tells us pretty much is that all the spirits and the angels and all that stuff from the unseen world, from the spiritual world, all the living beings from the spiritual world, all spirits and angels were created on the first day. We don't read about that in our Bibles. And it goes into this in much detail. And now, I'm not just blindly believing the book of Jubilees. When I read this, this absolutely confirms what we read of in the book of Enoch. And you have to be familiar with the book of Enoch to receive this. Okay, the book of Enoch, we're talking about flat earth stuff here, okay? Because it's the truth. The book of Enoch is talking about there are angels behind the wind. There are angels behind the snow, behind the rain, behind all that. Those are really spirits, and there are angels behind them, right? And when we read this in detail, it's talking about that those were all created on the first day. So, if you're familiar with the book of Enoch, it's all over the book of Enoch. You can verify this creation account in the book of Jubilees, chapter 2. And now with that, we see that this is a direct quote from an Apocryphal Psalm of David, right? So let's go back to this Apocryphal Psalm of David. Here's that quote from Jubilees. And when all the angels saw it, they sang, for he showed them that which was not known. All right, so when he created the mountains and the grass and the flowers and all the beautiful things, all the fruit and all the beautiful things of the earth, Yah was showing the angels something they have not known, and they rejoiced. Right? So This perfectly confirms what we're reading about in the book of Jubilees, about the creation account. It perfectly makes sense. And then here, the next line, this is quoting from this Dead Sea Scroll about Noah's flood. So it all intertwines together. It all shows to be real wisdom from Yah, established by 2 or 3 witnesses at least, through an understanding, a deeper understanding of the scriptures. And all this stuff doesn't contradict anything our Bibles tell us. It just gives more detail in which our Bibles don't tell us. So this is kind of the rabbit hole Yah has been taking me down. This is real biblical truth. And it's just amazing to see that these Dead Sea Scrolls are quoting these Apocryphal Psalms of David, and that Apocryphal Psalm is quoting the book of Jubilees. And when we go to this section where it quotes the book of Jubilees, and when we start reading it, we could absolutely make sense of this context from which it's talking about. So all this stuff that's not in our Bibles, all this understanding that's not exactly taught about in our Bibles, shows to be true, real, living wisdom and truth about our existence. So that's where I'm coming from. So I just wanted to show you guys that. All right, it's really amazing. I know it's a lot. All right, Yah bless you.